Welcome to Thank You Five, the podcast that's not a podcast because this is Instagram Reels. I'm Sam Franz. I am the office manager and social media coordinator at Stageworks Theater Group. And with me today, I have our very first guest on the Not So podcast. This is Ethan Smith, the director of Bat Boy the Musical. Welcome, Ethan.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So because you are our first guest, I do need to explain to our audience what exactly is going on here. This is a new series that we're going to be doing where we take some time with members of the cast and creative teams of our show and ask them 5 questions that we just kind of want to know the answer to. They're not going to be serious questions, most of them. They will be silly questions. And there will be 5 of them, hence the name. So let's get into it. I think first things first, let's start with an easy one. Ethan, what is your favorite song in Bat Boy the Musical?
Favorite song? This is a challenge because I really love the score of this show. It's by Lawrence O'Keefe, who did Legally Blonde and Heathers, but he did Bat Boy first. But I would say that favorite song is probably Children, Children.
Oh, children, children, don't be scared. The moon is up and we're all prepared.
It's my guilty pleasure song in the show a little bit. It's like a combination of like a funky Kiss the Girl vibe type of song. Really fun. Not going to really spoil what happens in the song, but it is sung by the god Pan of the forest, which is fun.
That is fun. That is like a character from Greek mythology.
Yes.
And also just like a god of the forest.
It's just a god of the forest, which it feels really out of pocket a little bit from the show, but I think it's going to be fun to kind of also use that and connect it a little bit more with how much the show connects to Greek mythology and Greek tragedy in general, which I think is kind of like the very base model for the plot of the show too. Very much reminiscent of that like Greek tragedy. So Children, Children really leans into that, but it's also just like really fun. And is the one probably my most played on the album.
That's fantastic. This is a follow-up question, so it doesn't technically count. What is your least played? What is your least favorite song on this album?
And this is not because I don't like the song. It just because in the 2020 cast recording, London cast recording of Bat Boy, they removed the song and put in a different version of this song, which I despise. So it turns out I do actually like the song, but it is my least favorite, and that is Ugly Boy.
Such an ugly boy.
It's just kind of a silly, fun song that Carrie Butler sings in the original cast recording, and it's.
So that is your skip.
That's my skip.
Bat Boy the Musical is not a musical that like many people are familiar with off rip. It is not like, it's not Wicked, it's not Hamilton, it's not like Six or anything that has achieved like a lot of cultural renown, so to speak. But it does have this like very familiar image at the center of it, like this newspaper cover that was on the Weekly World News of the Bat Boy. And if you're not familiar with the cover, I'll put it like right here. It'll be like right here. If you haven't seen that before, you've probably seen something that's like very similar to it or that references it in some way in pop culture. But other than that, like the plot of this musical is kind of a mystery to most people.
Yes.
So if you had to tell everyone in the world one piece of information about this musical, if everyone in the world needed to know like one thing to know Bat Boy the Musical, what would you tell them?
I would say to them that Bat Boy is all of us. we all are a Bat Boy or have a Bat Boy. Even the initial song, like "Hold Me, Bat Boy."
Hold me, Bat Boy, touch me, Bat Boy, help me through the night.
And overall, I think the biggest message of the story is that like everyone has someone that is not that has trouble fitting in or has trouble like blending in with society. And I think that like we all have our own anxieties and we all have our own pressures and trouble being who we really are. And ultimately, like Bat Boy just wants to belong. Bat Boy just wants to be human. And so really what this story is about is a story about being human, both the good and the bad things that come with being human, and about us seeing like almost the development of a child from a very quick pace, and like what makes us who we are, and how we make the decisions that we make in life, and how really people just want to be happy. Um, so I think if I was to ask, if I wanted to tell everybody and beam into their brains, this is Bat Boy the musical. You are Bat Boy. We are all Bat Boy.
You are Bat Boy is a very like ominous message to receive, like beamed into your brain. It's like a call to superhero.
I am Bat Boy.
We are Bat
Tells
Boy.
your friend, "Are you Bat? I'm Bat Boy. Did you hear? No, I'm Bat Boy." And then suddenly we're all Spartacus.
Yes, we are Spartacus. I do really like that though, because it is very like Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's very like what makes the monster and what makes the man
Yes.
type of aesthetic. Like there's a lot of like, I think there is a piece of all of us that believes that we're a little monstrous. So
Yeah.
I really do like
that
that.
nature versus nurture argument,
Mhm.
and like you kind of seeing that in a very quick biosphere, which is a musical.
A biosphere, which is a musical coming to a theater near you in
Yeah.
Stageworks Theater Group. So that's question 2. And now we'll have a nice little like graphic intro. So other than the titular character of Bat Boy, there are like a lot of very important and pivotal characters in this musical. One of whom was played by a friend of the pod, friend of the theater, Carrie Butler.
Shelley.
And Shelley is part of like the Parker family, who are all like kind of pivotal parts of the plot.
Yeah, the Parker family, Dr. Parker being the veterinarian in Hope Falls, West Virginia, and then Meredith being his wife, Shelley being their daughter, and then they take in Bat Boy or Edgar.
Okay, so this is like kind of a play on the family of 4 situation.
Yes.
It's like that white picket fence family with the like heterosexual husband and daughter
with a little rodent twist. Are they rodents? Are bats rodents?
And I think bats are definitely mammals, but so are rodents.
Yes.
Are
Are bats rodents or marsupials?
Get in the comments.
Tell us in the comments.
Please.
What's a bat? What is a bat?
Tell us what a bat is. We're desperate to know. Regardless, if you had to, in order to explain these characters to people, assign each of them a high school superlative, what would they be?
Right. Yeah, this is a great question. Let's just start with the easiest answer to that, and that Edgar, or Bat Boy, is definitely the theater kid. He's definitely the theater kid.
He's most likely to be on Broadway.
Most likely to be on Broadway. Most likely to carry a tune. I think really leaning into that still, like he wants to be accepted, but he's like dramatic and just wants people to like him, and he loves to sing. I do think Shelley is kind of that skater kid, hangs out with the skater kids.
Is a skater kid or hangs out with the skater kids, because those are 2 different groups of high school people.
Yeah, see, I hate to like put her in a box of like, oh, Shelley, like the girlfriend of a skater kid. Like, I don't want to put her in that box because she's her own person.
Right.
But like, I think that's kind of the development of the character as well, is that she kind of finds how she is her own person.
So she lives the plot of the Avril Lavigne song,
Yes.
Skater Boy.
Yes. Yep.
That might be a spoiler. Please don't listen to the song before coming to see the musical. It won't be the same vibe.
It wasn't good enough for her. No. I mean, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, but like Shelley starts off the plot dating Rick Taylor, who is one of the Taylor kids in the town, and he's like the bad boy, like Grateful Dead, like loves Grateful Dead. The show takes place in the 90s as well, so like it has that kind of vibe of she hangs out with Rick and does what Rick tells her to do and likes the things that Rick tells her to like until she's able to kind of find herself. So until then, she's like that stoner girlfriend, skater girlfriend type vibes.
Gotcha. So she's not like the type of high school superlative that's going to go in the yearbook. It's like the kind that you talk about.
Yes.
After the yearbook comes out, where she's like, yeah, most likely to get married and have a child, or like most likely to drop out of college after being proposed to.
Yeah,
like,
that's the idea that people try to put on her, but really she just wants to be a girl boss eventually.
so she cannot be defined.
She cannot be defined.
Excellent. Okay. And then there are the parents.
The parents are a little harder. I would say Dr. Parker is he's kind of that nerdy kid in the corner, doesn't know how to stick up for himself. Loves science, loves biology, but like not a hey, I'm gonna correct you, nerd, but like more of like a quiet, keeps to himself kind of nerd. Has trouble standing up for himself. Enough of a superlative.
It's like close. I think we're right on the edge of a superlative there. So
Yeah.
he's like,
See, I don't know what this superlatives are.
Did you not have high school superlatives?
I mean, sure, but I also grew up in Idaho, so like everyone was kind of just the same.
As opposed to in New Jersey, where everyone gets their own superlative.
Yeah. There's a lot more stereotypes in Idaho, I think. Or in New Jersey, sorry. Less stereotypes in Idaho.
Interesting. Okay. So, like, would you say that he is like the type of person who people look at and you're like, that kid is going to save the world one day? Like, that kid is going to major in environmental science?
No.
Okay.
No. Not at all. Not at all.
Most
I think he's pretty
a small town vet.
Sure. Yeah, that. I just think that like no one notices him enough for him to even be like, people look at him in the yearbook and they say, wait, who's that?
So he's like third runner up to like several superlatives.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
he's just like, yeah, maybe that kid.
Yeah, like who, like, you remember Parker? And it's like, no, I don't remember him. He was in class with us, like that kid. Yeah.
What a
Meredith was definitely Regina George. Becomes a Stepford wife later.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, but definitely like popular girl, like went against the grain of her like parents of what she wanted, what they wanted her to do. For sure. That's Meredith.
So she can be defined.
She can be defined.
No one else in the family.
She can be defined. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Well, Edgar's
a theater kid, but everybody else has like this amorphous blob of a personality.
Yes.
I mean, that is, and I suppose like it goes against the very nature of this musical to want to define people by a very simple
Well, I think that's what's so hard is that like these characters are, as much as the show is silly, these characters end up being so complicated that, and I also just have so much affection for them. It's really hard for me to put them in a box. I don't want to do that to them.
You can't give them like best smile. You have to be like your best smile, but like on Tuesdays when the sun hits you, right? Like
yes, like sure, like she's like the popular Regina George, but she like wants to like be a doctor.
Okay. Does she want to be a doctor? I haven't seen this musical yet.
She ends up her and Parker meet because she is Parker's assistant in the vet clinic before they get married.
Tale as old as time. So this is a musical that was composed by, the lyrics were written by Lawrence O'Keefe. Mm-hmm. Are both of those things accurate?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, music and lyrics by Lawrence O'Keefe.
Off screen, we have a copy of the script so that we can fact check for exactly this purpose. And he wrote Heather's the musical. He had a hand in Legally Blonde. So this man just drops certified bangers. Like that is his job.
He does.
And Bat Boy is not an exception to that rule. There are some very like catchy songs in Bat Boy.
In fact, a little like Easter egg, if you go and listen to Comfort and Joy, which is the Act 1 finale of Bat Boy, it actually uses the same melody as Legally Blonde remix.
He will show that he's not what they're terrified of. He will show them a love they could never destroy. When you refuse, so go show them who's legally removed.
That he reused for Legally Blonde because Bat Boy came first.
And because Bat Boy had not earned him enough critical acclaim.
Yes, so he was like, you know what, I could just reuse this because no one's gonna know.
We love you, Lawrence O'Keefe. This is not a read. No, but there are some like really, really good songs in Bat Boy. There are some like absolute certified like bops in this musical.
Bops and bangers all around.
If you though had the chance to compose a playlist for Edgar, for the Bat Boy, that you would classify as his pump up playlist.
Mhm.
What songs might you include? What songs and artists would you put in there?
Yeah, I think what's great about this question is that Bat Boy is essentially like an 8-year-old boy when we first see him. Not really, but like he's underdeveloped as a person because he's been raised by bats. So
So he's like he has the social skills of an
yes,
8-year-old
he has
boy.
the social skills of an 8-year-old boy.
Understood.
And as he comes into as he starts to like develop more as a human being, he is obviously influenced by a lot of different things, right? He learns how to speak because of BBC tapes, so he talks in a British accent.
Oh no.
But I think he gets influence from both his family, especially Shelley, who he admires a lot, and so I think there'd be a combination of things. I think on his playlist we'd have such hits as "Jesus Was a Friend of Mine."
Okay.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Excellent.
I think we'd also have some stuff in there like I think Shelley would influence him to listen to some Grateful Dead, so there may be some Grateful Dead in there as well as some Weezer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think some Weezer
It's
as well.
very 90s.
Yes, very 90s.
Incredible.
But I do think also there'd be some Les Mis. I do
Okay.
think we'd have some One Day More. Probably some like Empty Chairs and Empty Tables when he's like really crooning, like feeling himself, feeling sad and depressed because he's a bat boy. I
Okay.
think he listens to Empty Chairs and Empty Tables in his room because he has no friends.
Oh,
So,
that's depressing.
but I guess you'll have to come and see the musical to see if he makes friends. We hope so. But very much influence. You know, he reads the Bible like 4 times over because he's trying to absorb all these different cultural things.
Okay.
And so he's also like trying to find his faith a little bit too. And so there's some like I feel like he would love it's like the positive energy, right? I think there might be a couple like crooner songs in there, like Empty Chairs and Empty Tables, but also like when you're looking at the world with rose tinted glasses, which I think he is as a new person, I think there's definitely going to be like some like, oh, the world is just like so beautiful and perfect and I can't wait to like enter into it. So I think there's going to be a lot of just like happy hype stuff in there.
Gotcha. So he's like almost a Godspell fan.
Oh yeah, no, for sure a Godspell fan. It hurts me to say I'm not the biggest Godspell fan, but I'm sure that he is. I'm sure that he's at least listened to that vinyl a few times.
Fantastic.
Original broadcast Godspell.
The Walking on Sunshine like vibe
Oh, yeah.
is his whole thing.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned when you started this answer, when you started talking about him being an 8-year-old, that you were going to like propose that Baby Shark was on his playlist. And I was so nervous. I'm so glad
Yeah.
we diverted from that pathway.
Yeah, I'm also curious, like, and you know, this is something we'll have to explore in the show and explore with the actors as well. But like, is he confused by Batman? Because Batman exists in this world at this point, right? There is Batman comics, there's the Batman TV show. I think we've actually had Tim Burton's Batman at this point. So like, is he confused? Does he think Batman is his father?
Well, and I suppose we're gonna have to go into overtime here because I must ask a follow-up question. Does he like refer to himself as the Bat Boy?
No, he pretty once he gets the name Edgar, once he is blessed with that, once he gets his Christian name Edgar, he no longer he wants to integrate into society more, so he no longer calls himself the Bat Boy. That is what people refer to him as within the town. But I still do think there would be some confusion when he hears about the Batman.
I see.
Like-
And I suppose that would be furthered by like the tools that he uses also having the name Bat in them.
Yes.
Like the Batarang and the Batmobile.
Mhm.
Like that would be very actually that's a good I'm wearing a Batman shirt right now.
The real
So-
Bat Boy was Sam along the way.
As a director,
Mhm.
why are you so excited to be doing Bat Boy? Like you have talked a lot about how this is like a passion project for you and you're really like inspired by the material. Like what about Bat Boy the musical speaks to you in that way? Why are you so excited to be directing Bat Boy?
I think that over the years, Bat Boy has become a lot more of a cult classic. When it was off Broadway in 2001, it had great reviews. It was done very well. It wasn't necessarily received super great at the time in terms of just like attention. But I think what is so cool about this show is that I think it's really misunderstood. I think that it has a lot to say. And I think that it's incredibly culturally relevant. And I think that it's really it's really easy for people to relate to this production and to relate to so many characters in it. I think it's a show that doesn't have villains. And I think that while there are people and characters in the cast that do bad things um, and do actions that are considered not good or even evil, I think that it really does answer the question, like, why do people commit violence? Why do people do bad things? And kind of pulls the attention as to like humanizing both the good guys and the bad guys in the show. And while it's really fun and silly and weird, I think ultimately everyone can relate with the character of Batboy, but also relate to like the townspeople who are misunderstood in that they are essentially very much like manipulated by a central character in the show into fearing someone and othering a character like Batboy. I think it's relevant to today. I think it really shows how people can really have no desire to hurt the people around them, but then can be othered by someone with power telling them that they need to be scared of this person. I mean, that ultimately what we're seeing is that we see this town in West Virginia full of people that are just trying to live their lives, be told that there is a person that they need to fear in Batboy, who is really just someone that is trying to live their life and like do good for the community around them. And while it's like so fun and has so many like great musical numbers, the characters are all extremely relatable, but it also like tells really true, real stories. What drew me to the script initially, and why I think I'm the right person to direct this, is that in the initial part of the script, there's an author's note that says how these characters do not know they're funny. These characters are truly believe in the cause that they are pursuing and the what they're trying to do in this plot. And then there's hijinks and silly things that happen that make it a very funny script. But ultimately, like, it is a very truthful story, extremely relevant, and I think full of little tidbits that will make people have a lot of fun, but also like be extremely moved and hopefully look within themselves and see themselves in many of these different characters. So I just think it's the perfect show at the perfect time. And then a lot of the times, like, we need something that is a little more on the nose, like Batboy. That while it's like, obviously we have no Batboys in real life, like I said at the
Well,
beginning.
and to be quite honest, thank God, because I don't know that I could handle that emotionally.
There were just Batboys walking around.
Just like a casual. If there were multiple, I think I'd get used to it. But like,
Okay,
if there
right.
were one very specific Batboy,
And no one talked about it.
yes, I just kind of found out one day, I think I'd also be a little alarmed.
I understand.
No, continue with what you were saying.
Well, it sounds like you would relate to some of these characters as well. Right?
Absolutely. Well, and I think that it's very understandable to feel fear, especially when you're being told that there's something dangerous out there.
Mhm.
But I think that you're right. There is like an element in there of like, look within yourself, like do your own research, make sure that like what you're being told is an accurate representation of like
Absolutely.
other people.
And I think that's what makes Batboy such a great character, because he doesn't come with any bias, right? Because he is essentially a child when we first see him. Like, we see that growth is so genuine, and as he grows up, he doesn't understand evil. He only understands those very basis human needs, hunger and fear and happiness and joy. And we see him really start to realize very quickly that the world is not what he thought it was.
Mhm.
And the show is essentially us seeing those ramifications of this boy who has very quickly been thrown into a world that fears him. And I think that everyone can find relatability in that, and I think is a really important perspective that I think a lot of people should get to see.
For sure. For sure. Well, Ethan, this has been very insightful and also
Thank you.
very fun. So thank you for sitting down with us here at Thank You Five,
Of
the
course.
podcast that's not actually a podcast because this is Instagram Reels.
Come to Bat Boy auditions.
Yes, Bat Boy auditions are February 22nd from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And there is also a video audition option. So if you're not available for that date, but you want to come out for the show or you want to see a little bit more about the show, more information about all of that is available on our website. So head to stageworksnj.org. We will have more information for you then.
Remember to hold your Bat Boy.
Remember, we are holding space for Bat Boy the musical. Here holding space
Holding space
for Bat Boy is Ethan Smith. And I've been Sam France here with Thank You Five. What?
This is Ethan. He's also in the podcast. My assistant director.